Thank you. I am Xu Tiantian. I am an architect from Beijing, China. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's really my great honor to speak at Bauhaus Earth and present as the Asian context. Asia is the most populated continent in the world. In past decades, Asia has gone through rapid urbanization process and economic growth. At the same time, the Asian continent also faces rising environmental and social challenges caused by the increasing gap between urban and rural regions. As architecture practitioner, we have been mostly working in the rural region. In this process, architecture is integrating with local context and heritage as a systematic and sustainable strategy, a healing treatment to restore the cultural heritage of indigenous peoples, reduce the environmental impact, and rebuild urban and rural economic circulation. The presentation includes our 3 regional practice cases in southern region of China. Each one is to look into local issues and resources, to engage local communities, and to provide sustainable solutions. Let me share my screen first. So the first chapter is in Songyang County, a typical agricultural county in China, which was losing its rural population and facing economic decline. We proposed the architectural acupuncture as a systematic and sustainable rural strategy to regain its rural self-confidence. With a minimal intervention approach, a public program is introduced to each village according to its cultural context and heritage. Applied with vernacular material and building technique, architecture acupuncture integrates the village with the nature, restore the rural identity, and stimulates local economic development. For example, the culture and history can restore the legacy of the ancient Wang village that has been totally surrounded by modern factories since the 90s. A new memorial hall in the heart of the village is dedicated to the ancestor Wang Jing, the imperial scholar from Ming Dynasty, to restore the pride and honor. The articulation of the building not only creates a temple-like interior to walk through the life story of the ancestor, but also frees up the central space to accommodate multiple functions. The new memorial hall has rebuilt the pride and honor within the village, which also brought back the motivation and inspiration for villagers to further initiate new cultural programs and set up small businesses. In a mountain village, a new rural museum is to restore Hakka indenture history. The Hakka indenture collection in this Hakka village is a valuable cultural archive as the largest Hakka indenture collection in the country. So this museum also provides an opportunity to revive a lost craftsmanship, the traditional masonry building technique. The building has become a monument reflecting the history of Hakka indenture. With the local masonry technique, the museum is also a summer pavilion open to both villagers and visitors. All these projects engage light maintenance with natural lighting and ventilation as low-tech, sustainable public buildings. The new museum has inspired new investment to convert the adjacent vacant houses into homestay business and crafts workshop, which also provides new employment opportunities for villagers, especially women in this village. The abandoned infrastructure is also the valuable local resource that could be reused to restore the local identity. With a new bridge for vehicles built nearby, the old Shimen Bridge has been eventually abandoned and was about to be demolished. So we proposed to renovate the existing structure and adding a new timber canopy. The unsafe infrastructure has been converted into a pedestrian bridge, reconnecting the two villages across the river. Like the traditional launch bridge functioning as the meeting point for local community, the new Shimen Bridge also becomes a shared, multifunctional public space. It also provides a viewing platform for the adjacent 1,000-year-old ancient water dam. In ancient time, the two villages across the river used to be one village and was eventually separated into two by flood. So this new Shimen Bridge becomes the symbol to reunite two villages once again. In rural region, the villages are sharing similar agricultural lifestyle, but almost every village has its own unique product, which is both the intangible cultural heritage and the economic resource. In this case of Xing village, brown sugar, local product, become the stimulator that connected the economy of its vicinity. Unlike other traditional villages, Xing maintained a rather steady population and agricultural production that generates sufficient income for the villagers to build new modern houses. So the brown sugar production became the key element to introduce village heritage. The traditional cooking process is a striking performance, but the family workshops were under poor conditions. This new factory was programmed to engage family workshops as a collective economic entity to operate the factory. The improved production condition also ensure an upgraded product quality to fit with healthy food requirements. The main production space is conceived as a central stage to showcase the traditional brown sugar production as a live performance, which also restored the pride within the community for this unique agricultural tradition. The new factory, tailored for production and public education, has elevated the price of sugar and the village's income. Over 50 villagers resettled back in their hometown. Many joined the sugar production union. The improved income has inspired more villagers engaging with local ecological sugarcane plantation. The factory is also functioning as a village cultural space, cultural center during non-production season. In rural practice, it often requires multifunctional, more adaptive, resilient, and efficient architecture to achieve cultural, social, and economic sustainability. Saijia village has always been known for its best tofu production in the county region. A new factory is programmed at the entrance of the village as a collective economic entity to engage individual family workshops as the shareholders. All the production spaces are designed and equipped to upgrade traditional tofu products, fitting with food certificate requirements. As the factory supplies tofu for healthy food to local community, it has also become a field-tripped educational workshop. The factory is an alternative rural museum with the production as live exhibition and performance. The covered walkway inviting visitors to observe the traditional tofu making in sequence. It's an open leisure space for both visitors and villagers. The building requires a simple maintenance operation. It is energy saving by adopting natural lighting, natural ventilation, rainwater collection system, promising a moderate economic lifestyle while maintaining regional cultural characteristics at the same time. The tofu factory not only performs sustainable in the issue of construction and maintenance, but also promises a far-reaching societal resilience. The new production condition and increased circulation have improved both the quality and price of the village tofu product. After its completion, around 30 young villagers returned home from cities to join the production union. The factory has also inspired more ecological agriculture to ensure the quality of raw material for production. The dwelling issue in rural region is often the opposite from the urban. In the case of the Shantian village, whose history can be traced as far back as 600 years ago, was becoming a hollow village with only a few elders remaining in this village. Many houses are vacant and many have been abandoned for years due to the decreased population. So the village transformation is first to reach the common agreements with local community and then to renovate and convert the vacant houses as a shared homestay business owned by the village community. This will also provide a new alternative living for urban residents. The architectural design is to respect the history and preserve the village original fabric by using traditional building techniques and craftsmanship. At the same time, a new hybrid collective rural economic entity is formed to protect the ownership and village's potential economic value, which also avoids rip-off or inequity created by urban investments. Villagers become the shareholders with their assets of their properties. Those remaining in the village can also participate as the employees. This also introduces a more diversified rural economy and attracts local talents and young villagers back home. Through the new reform of hybrid village collective economic entity, the Shantian village transformation has established a new social structure that could facilitate the individual villagers who are often left behind in the market economy. Our second chapter is located in Jingyun County with adaptive reuse of abandoned quarries. The project provides a model example for the overall 3,000 abandoned quarries in the region to restore the interrupted nature and ecology and to reuse the quarries as the alternative public spaces with new possibilities. The design stimulates sustainable, future-oriented development that brings improvements for the stressed ecosystem. The reuse of these abandoned quarries also reconnect the local community with its 1,000 years of quarrying history and heritage in a sentimental dimension. The planning works with a cluster of adjacent quarries to provide supporting facilities for the scenic district. Therefore, the project also reduced the number of new buildings and the environmental impact due to new constructions. It combines aspects of landscape planning, interior design, artistic installations, and social planning with economic revitalization of the rural area. The construction phase of each quarry is within 6 months, including geotechnical reinforcement and the architectural intervention. Both the construction time and cost are less than a new public building. So far, we have completed 3 quarries. The first quarry of the cluster is based on the request and desire of local quarry workers and community to provide a stage to demonstrate quarrying as local manufacturing technique and historical heritage. Our design is a minimal intervention with only necessary traces to reveal the quarry as a new rural public space with collective memories. The second quarry is designed as a new quarry theater because of its acoustical quality and the spatial reverberation effect. The conceptual position and the use of local resources determined the approach. The sensitive strategy adapted to local needs transforms the negative legacy of the exploitation of natural resources into a symbol of hope in the rural hinterland. The third quarry is the combination of modern public library and Chinese study, dedicated to the local calligraphy context and spirit of literati, by adapting the concept of book mountain from an ancient Chinese saying. The notion of design is also to connect the sense of ritual and cultural metaphors from different dimensions of time and space, at the same time reusing the quarry as a contemporary public platform. The ruins caused by exploitation develops into a stage for the culture that brings a new perspective to village communities in the region, both ecologically and economically. The Fujian Tulo is a typical traditional building typology in Fujian province, the southeast region of China. Built between the 15th and 20th centuries, it is technically sophisticated and self-sustainable defensive building for communal living in a highly sensitive setting in mountain valleys. In year 2008, 46 Fujian Tulo buildings were listed as the World Cultural Heritage by UNESCO. But there are still thousands of Tulo buildings in the region left unattended, vacant, or abandoned. This is our current chapter and challenge to revitalize these ancient traditional buildings, either to improve and upgrade the living conditions for the original inhabitants, the indigenous Hakka or Minnan peoples, or to convert the abandoned Tulo into modern public facilities with adaptive reuse. Compared to the often large-scale developments in or iconic landmark buildings in urbanization process, the strategy targeting rural issues is rather micro-scale and human-centered approach. The issue of the rural is global, but a systematic local-scale intervention could become the strategic and sustainable solution. It also challenges architects to expand perspective, to identify issues, and initiate collaborations. Thank you.